All right, how we all doing?
Check, check.
Sticking in, day 3. Still ready for it? We got a long way to go. Stay tuned, 9 p.m. to midnight. I'm just going to come and say it right now. We're closing out the party with a full Asian lineup down in Clark Key, Fountain Square. So plenty more to go. If you need to grab a coffee, do what you got to do. But we're going to dive right in. So on my left, we have Ayudita, better known as Dita. It's just easier to say. Dita is the booker at a group called Ismaya. Now, Ismaya is one of, if not the most influential F&B club and nightlife group in Indonesia. They have properties such as DWP, Jakarta Warehouse Project, We The Fest, the Dragonfly Club chain, and 25 different brands across 80 different venues throughout Indonesia, Asia, I should say, and Dubai.
That's correct.
Then we have Huaprox. Huaprox is one of our artists that you're actually going to be able to catch tonight at the event aforementioned. And Huaprox is Monstercat artist for a couple of years, one of the most prominent DJs and producers in Vietnam in general. He's got songs with tens of millions of streams, and you know, it's headlined for 50,000 people, that kind of thing. So we're really lucky and appreciate him for coming and joining us as well and playing later tonight. And then we have Robb Harker, who bears no introduction, but for the heck of it, let's just call him a guru of the electronic music scene in Asia. He's been out here living in Asia and in the music business for 25 years. There's not a lot that happens in electronic music in Asia that doesn't at least come across his desk. He is the founder of Supermodified, an agency with top talent from around the world and regional, and he started, though, in events, which gives him an ability to see from sort of both sides of the fence, the agent and the events perspectives. So with that, I'd like to welcome you all to the panel. Electronic music does matter, and we're here to talk about it today, and welcome everybody here. Or actually, what I'd rather say is welcome back, right? But can I say that? Are we back?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, all right. So tell me about that. What makes you so confident?
I mean, we just finished our first festival after pandemic with the fest last Sunday.
Big things. Yeah, a little round of applause for that. We The Fest. It's a big deal.
Yeah, it's pretty challenging for the first time after we back. So because we supposed to have it in July, but by the beginning of this year, we're not sure if we can do it in July, and we decided to push it to September. But the main challenge was it's not easy to have headliners to fly just for 1-2 events or something like that in September. But after we finally pull it off and we made it happen, and we're still having fun, seeing everyone is there, the market that we miss so much is back. So finally I can say for Indonesia, we're pretty much back. Yeah.
That's huge. That's huge. And were you able to use that show for anchors, for them to presumably try and make tours off of or anything like that?
Yeah. For we already want to start earlier in terms of bookings for next year. So we're planning to go back in 4th week of July 2023, and we kind of have quite a good news for the headliners options and everything. So we're hoping by then we will back in our regular capacity, which is 25,000 per day.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
We're gonna make it.
More of that. More of that. And then you have some other stuff coming up on the horizon. Am I wrong?
Yeah. We will have a Jakarta Warehouse project back this year also on the 2nd weekend of December. We already announced the first lineup, and we're gonna announce the second phase of lineup by next month.
Good stuff. Well, I'm on the edge of my seat for that one. I tell you this. What about you, Huaprox? What do you think? Are we back? Can I say we're back? Can I say welcome back?
I don't know.
You don't think so? Oh, well, let's
I'm
find
not
out.
sure we are back or not because many things have already changed. So right now, we need to adapt with those change. So I feel like we living in a new time, And but there one thing I'm very sure that music always evolving. So right now I'm feeling very good on what is ahead of us.
Cool. So we're not back, we're forward is basically what you're trying to say, right? I like that. That's it's all in how you frame things. Either way, we're in a good place. It's sounding like. So I appreciate that insight. Rob, what do you think? You cover a lot of ground out here. I'd love if you could maybe even like touch on some of the differences between regions and that kind of thing.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I think when you ask, are we back, the answer is yes and no. A little bit like Holprox was saying. Kind of reminds me of like a sci-fi movie where astronauts went out to space and then they came back to Earth and they think they're in the same place, but then they find out they're in some like parallel universe or something. So it's not what it was before. So, and I mean, obviously we don't have mainland China open yet, and all of these different countries across Asia have opened at different times. So Taiwan, I think they're stopping their quarantine on October 13th. So we're going to see Taiwan starting to open up. Hong Kong just dropped the quarantine, I believe, last week. But when we're seeing these markets open, like when the whole pandemic first started, I think the way that it was being handled in Asia sort of led people to believe that Asia might be the first market to open up again. And then the vaccines came along and it sort of flipped things. America opened and Asia was kind of far behind. And what we've seen when America opened was this massive boom of people like just dying to get out again. And that's now starting to die down a little bit. And in Asia, outside of China and whatnot, we're experiencing that boom right now. So like Japan, Korea, Indonesia, Thailand, these markets are all, I would say, even stronger than they were before the pandemic.
That's big news. Yeah, that's great to hear. Say that again. Japan, Indonesia, Thailand, and
Korea.
Korea.
Yeah, I would say are all stronger.
Stronger than pre-pandemic.
Yeah, places like Malaysia, when they first opened up, there wasn't really a need for international artists so much because people were just so happy to be able to be back in the club. So the club owners weren't really needing to invest in international talent. But now that it's been open since August or so, now they're starting to do bookings.
So just to guess, I kind of riff off that. I've seen, or it's been explained to me that in China there was sort of like a firework of local talent that was sort of rising up during this time. Have you seen that happen or take place anywhere else within the region? And have you seen any sort of consistency press through from that in any areas?
Yeah, I mean, each country just sort of had their own set of rules during the pandemic. So a lot of places in Southeast Asia, all the clubs were just shut down, whereas China, Korea, the clubs stayed open, but just the borders were closed. So there was this huge opportunity for local artists to suddenly be the headliners, and I think that's really helped develop artists in both of those markets.
Certainly. We talked a little bit about the clubs and opening and closing and how that's affected the industry a little bit. But what do you think are some of the major changes that have come out from? Because obviously during the pandemic, it's been a lot of the music that we listen to as people that listen to electronic music or even the general public, it comes from the club, right? And so the clubs, they will have a great influence on the electronic music industry in general. And I'm wondering, through these years, with the changes that have happened in the clubs, how do you think that, or what are some of the changes, evolutions, or tailwinds that have come out of what's happened for electronic music specifically? Let's start with Dita.
Yeah, I mean for us, like we also manage couple of like local talents from Indonesia. And when the pandemic happened, especially with the electronic act that we have, that we manage, we need to find like a new platform just to push like the promotion of like the stuff that they released during the pandemic, because like I think I don't know like with everyone, but most of the people like dealing with the pandemic like completely different. Some of the act like they just like very active like in producing, but they don't know how to promote it. If they like make it music and everything, then how to promote it if the club is not open. So for us, it's just like we're trying to find like a new platform in terms of like working with like a content creator and push it like through a content that we post like online or something like that. So I think it's important to find like a different kind of like platform just to like push the promotion of the local talent at that time.
Cool. So you've gone then from doing club promotion for music to working more with influencers and
because like actually the first time like we are having Jakarta Warehouse project is just to put Indonesia in the music map. Like no one's know that. Okay, why we call it Jakarta Warehouse Project, because we want people to know Jakarta is in Indonesia, and we also want to push like the local talent and give them like the right platform just to like show like the world that we also have like a great talents like locally. That's the first time we want to make the DWP.
Yeah, well, I'm with that message. Come check out some great Indonesian talent. Again, I'm just going to plug it all day long here. Weird Genius, going to be performing from 11 to midnight at Clark Key Fountain Square. So it's serious Indonesian talent right there.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And back to the Vietnamese talent. So what are some of the changes that you've seen in the music or the industry as a result of what has happened in the club scene over the last couple of years?
So, after COVID, so many clubs closed and many new clubs open. And right now in Vietnam, we, for me, as a artist, as a DJ, I must to take time to know what audience want and what is the audience want about the music, and it takes time to me for figure it out. Yes, that is a big change, I think.
Okay, and I'm gonna pass it on down to Robb. Robb, what about yourself? What have been some of the changes that you've seen to the music and or the industry that have come from the last few years of tribulation?
I think like during the pandemic, the way people would consume music obviously had to change. There was no more live events. People were watching virtual sets, or they were streaming the music. So a lot of the music that was more geared towards being in a venue and jumping around, it sort of didn't keep that traction. But then I've also seen, like, without international artists touring on a regular basis, they weren't influencing some of the local DJs, because I think a lot of the regional people do get influenced when people are touring through, and without them touring, then they were looking more to like their own roots for the influence. You see a lot more like Asian sounds in the music now. You're even seeing like Western artists wanting to collaborate with regional artists here in Asia. A few years ago, K-pop was kind of a dirty word, and now if you go to clubs, you might be hearing remixes of BTS. So I think that's something that changed.
Cool. So in a weird way, it's actually helping the spread of Asian music and Asian sounds even today, as we are starting to open up. It's kind of an interesting silver lining there, right? To say the least. So what about how has this kind of changed the way that you've been creating music yourself, Waprox?
For me, now music has changed a lot because after like more than 2 years of a pandemic, we all focus on streaming music because there are no concert, no show. So the music of live show, we can do it. So now we back, right? Now we back show back concert back, and for me now I have the chance to come back with live music, with the real live music. So I'm so excited for this right now.
So okay, so and you had some experience with online collaboration as well, and but you obviously prefer the in-person stuff, right? Has it gotten you more comfortable to where you are maybe reaching out a little bit more with people that are not necessarily able to do it live?
No, absolutely no, because the way we collab face to face is the best way to do something like crazy, something like creative, and it will become a big, you know. During the COVID, we must working online, so it's not comfortable for me. Yeah, I don't enjoy it that way.
Yeah, it's fair. Sometimes you just got to get in the studio and feel the vibe. You definitely cannot knock that. But I suppose everybody has their own methodologies, right? What about your artists, Dita? How has this sort of affected how they're creating and putting out their music, other than the influencer stuff, of course?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like some artists, like they became like more creative and explore more like within the genre and everything. I have like one local act, like he's exploring to have like collaboration with the rapper or even like with the reggae musician locally, and they can create actually pretty interesting music. And we in Indonesia, when you can produce something and it's in the radio, it means like it has like a bigger market locally. Like Indonesian still like instead of like Spotify or like other platform, like they also do like the release by the radio, because like as you know that in Jakarta, like the traffic every day is pretty bad, so people listen to the radio more. So what we do is we collaborate, they collaborate with the local talent just to make something unique and interesting to be put in the market. Yeah.
Cool. So what would you say that is guiding the tastes of the radio in your area? I heard yesterday the speaker from Spotify said that it was very pop oriented. Is that pretty consistent with what you're saying?
You mean the radio?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean like radio. It's more. It's spreading like equally. Like Indonesia is like the market is big, but it's not like spreading equally. Like when you have like a new music, like you spread it out in like the big cities, it's easy, but to reach like the small cities is like another challenge. And with the radio chain, they can help us to spread it out through like the small cities in Indonesia.
And so is that going more in the lane of like, what is it called? Dangdut? Did I do that right?
Yeah, it's like our traditional music. It's like a called dangdut. So basically like for us, local dangdut is BC market music. Right. But in Indonesia, those kind of market is like the biggest market.
So when are we getting some electronic dangdut?
Dangdut collaboration.
Yeah. Watch this space. Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, like it's like a new market to explore, because those kind of market they're not everyone listening to electronic music. So what's our like homework is just to make sure that that market also wants and willing to like listen to the electronic music. you know.
Yeah, no, I know it well. Not to talk too much, but years ago we put together Avicii with Wong Lee Home and made a KTV friendly song to get the word of electronic music to the Chinese people, as opposed to just having it be club music, right? And actually sort of define that word. And some people just need that kind of education. And with the population so large, that makes a lot of sense to me. And certainly makes a case for more collaboration.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. But also, like the main homework is also to make like a proper like a music for everyone, because some of like for the AB market, they feel like the dangdut music is too cheesy for them. So that's like also how we like create balance that good for everyone. You know, like at least it's like it's good enough for every of the market. You know.
Sure, you got to build. You got to start somewhere, right? And so it's just all about laying bricks. And for clarity, that was in a previous role for myself, what I referenced there.
Yeah.
So let's go to Robb. Robb, how has this the changes in the club scene over the last few years? How has this affected what artists you've been pushing and or just choosing to add to your repertoire in general?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know pushing per se, because we have our fixed roster, and it's more a question of people then coming to us for what they feel is in demand and what works for them for their market. Asia in general always kind of has been and continues to be more focused on commercial music as opposed to underground. We're definitely seeing a shift in America, I think, where that big room commercial EDM sound is being replaced by sort of more house music, and that shift hasn't sort of happened in Asia yet. Typically, things that happen over in America do spill over to Asia, so we might see that in the next couple of years.
It's always really late, pretty late, yeah.
But I mean, it's tough too, because these artists, like, I mean, if you look at Main Stage Ultra as a sort of an indicator, you know, they're starting to seed the Miami main stage lineup with acts like Claptone, Vintage Culture, and they still have like the big commercial names. But then if you look at the lineups in Asia for Ultra, it's always just like the Afrojacks and the Armin van Buurens. And then when you try and get some of these underground artists to come to Asia to try and help build the scene, it's difficult, because they end up having to travel like 3 times as far for a paycheck that's like a fraction of what they can get in North America or in Europe. But if they don't come and sort of put time into the territory, then we're not going to be able to build out that part of the scene either. So it's kind of a catch-22.
Goes back what we were saying, right? Got to build together. Actually, you just chimed in right there. I'm really curious. As a booker, Robb mentioned something that I thought was really interesting right there. You know, the more 4x4 sound coming out of America, actually, and Europe, of course. Maybe making waves out here sooner than later. I don't know. How's that affecting your booking tastes?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, Rob, we work together like a long period. For DWP, we always want to make a differentiation on the programming. On the main stage, like Rob said, like, still like dominate by like the EDM act, like those kind of headliners. But for like the second stage and third stage, we always want to make something interesting. We're the first like one that bring Elro to Asia to host a stage in DWP.
Cool.
And then we also did like at that time the first hip hop stage in electronic music festival, which is when we announced it, the comment was, why did you put like the hip hop acts in like a electronic festival or some music festival? But we're pretty lucky, because with the venues, outlets that we have, like restaurant and bar, we always create like the playlist of the artists that we book or we want to book to the festival, and play it along in the outlet, and make sure when the festival happen, it's will be busy on the stage, because like the main thing we want to make sure both like the artist and also the brand, if there is we do stage hosting, have like the good feedback after our festival. That's the thing. I think the main thing is just to create differentiation every year, so it's not like monotone like every year on the programming.
I like it. I like it. Shameless plug. You talked about hip hop and electronic music together. There's a couple Monstercat artists that I particularly love that have that sound, including Vendetta and Tony Romero.
Yeah.
But if you don't know about them, you should listen to them because they're really good.
But I mean, like when we want to do that, it's rarely other festival want to book it too. So when we want to book an artist for like this special stage or something like that, no one wants to do it. So we're like the only one, and sometimes the artist doesn't want to go only for one festival.
Well, now you're jumping ahead here. But I would say that means we need to come together. What do you think?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
How can we do that? Well, let's dive into the next question and see if we can't find out a little bit. I'm just going to read this verbatim. Obviously, there has been a lot of change in the music industry given recent history. Technology has been pushing forward as we've adapted to challenges that have been set out before us. Which are some of these changes or advancements in technology that are do you think are going to be more prevalent in the years to come? Let's go Dita first.
In terms of technology, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, like, with, like, the pandemic and everything, technology is just, like, make us closer, like, because, like, before the pandemic, we literally, like, need to meet, do everything, like, alive, like, but when, like, after the pandemic, we know that with technology, we can, like, work everything together and make us closer as, like, community. That's it, in my opinion.
Okay, cool. Let's keep going. Huaprox, what do you think are some of the new technologies that have come out in the last few years for the music industry that have been adopted that you think are going to stick around for the foreseeable future, for the next few years at least?
Yeah, I just want to say in my music production side, I think it will be the maximum replacement from the hardware to the software, because I know it had happened now, but I think it will continue to happen, because technology, computer, especially AI, they will intervene more, and everything will be gradually automatic, and include producing, mixing, mastering. So as a producer, I a little scared about it, but I think it should not be difficult for someone who can receptive in new idea, because the most best thing about a song is inspiration of the artist who created. So that thing cannot be replaced by the machine. That's what I think.
Sure. Would you mind naming a software or two that you've seen, or just like a technology or a brand or anything that has helped you with your music creation over the last few years?
Yeah. So I use Fruity Loop, right? FL, and every like instrument nowadays, they only have the VST version for it. So basically, now I can do any kind of the music, just only use my computer, for example. So I think that would be the big change in the future.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. And so then, Robb, what about yourself, sir? What do you think are some of the technologies that have arisen in the last few years that may have a chance of really having a lasting impact?
I think an obvious one is Web3 and the sort of role that that's going to be playing in the live music industry moving forward. The pandemic kind of sped things up a little bit. You know, as all these clubs were closed and people were looking for new ways to host events, a lot of these festivals ended up going digital. So I think Tomorrowland did 1 or 2 years digital. Dita, you guys did DWP digitally for 2 years, yeah?
Virtual DWP.
Yeah, so, and I mean, from the artist perspective too, like DWP, you get what, like 70,000 people across 3 days?
For what, like the virtual?
The in-person
like
one.
For before the pandemic, it's like 45,000 per day.
45 per
Yeah,
day.
but this year we're gonna like go a little bit smaller by 30K a day.
All right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's one of the bigger festivals in Asia, and artists are then reaching 45,000 people. But if they're performing on a virtual set, you know, I mean, if you look at something like Travis Scott's album on Fortnite, you know, they had 27 million unique visitors are watching it at the same time. So you can just reach such a much bigger audience that way. And I think the other sort of interesting aspect of it is the potential of like the utility of Web3 in conjunction with events. So there's a new project that's currently under development, which is going to be launching soon, called AAA. And it's a social fi network where fans, promoters, and artists are going to be able to interact before the event, during the event, after the event. And fans are going to have be able to have input to the promoters so that when the promoters are building future events, they could have feedback directly from the fans in terms of like what lineups they could be doing. And then fans can be rewarded with real life experiences for their contribution.
Very cool. Is there any sort of platform within that? I know this is all sort of in development, but is there any sort of functionality within that for promoters to connect?
Yeah, the project is currently already onboarding most of the promoters throughout Asia into one big network. So it's pretty exciting.
So presumably that could help solve the problems of Dita that she was just mentioning with trying to get people over with a tour, because it will help connect the promoters so that way they can work together to arrange these things, right?
I mean, it could in that way. I think the challenge that Dita's talking about, though, is more if
market. I think
Yeah.
for us it's like, you know, like we're like staying in Asia, but like every market is different. That's like the main challenge. Like it's the promoter wants to do it, but some artists work, some artists not. That's the thing. So they don't want to take a risk to like put like something new for their market.
And a lot comes down to budgets too.
Yeah,
you know, if
that's
they've
true.
got a budget for a main stage festival headliner,
Yeah, that's
and then you're trying to find a second show, but there's only club options available, then it's just not going to end up happening.
That's true.
That's a good point. So I guess that kind of brings me to my next question. Where do you think we as a community or as an industry should be focusing our energy on creating innovations for furthering the success of electronic music and I guess the music industry in general? I'm going to keep it Asia specific, but you can take it where you want to. Let's go, Dita.
Okay, I mean like for us, like we as like Asian promoters, like we work like closely side by side, but during the pandemic and now even I think stronger as a community to work together. So we're hoping like also in the artist side, like they can consider like Asian market is one of like the biggest like during like the tours, something like that. Because the main problem, one of the problem is like sometimes like they're not sure if they want to do like touring or something like that for Asia market.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. So collaboration and trying to inspire more people to
I mean
get
like
out to
the
Asia.
collaboration and like work together as community. So I think it's the main thing that we can make it stronger to like doing more and help everyone in the same page for the music industry in Asia.
Cool. What are some other ways that we think that we might be able to help everyone, from musicians to bookers, promoters, and everyone in between, agents and management? What are some other needs that you think that we have in this day and age? And I'll just leave this open to either of you. You can jump in for innovation and really driving forward technology and/or models in general.
Yeah, I don't know if this really answers the question, but just an area that I would like to see more progress, I guess, would be with the regional artists. I think the regional artists throughout Asia are, in many cases, kind of overlooked. The quality of talent within Asia is incredible, from producers to DJs and performers, but there's always just this focus on we want international talent. So if there was some way to sort of drive more regionally focused lineups, I think it would be a big benefit.
Makes my heart swell with joy. Okay, cool. So I think if we got a little bit more time, I will. I'm gonna see if we have time for one question. Nope. Maybe. Yeah. All right. No, we're good. Yeah.
Clock's flashing.
There's a question here. If you without my spit all over it. There you go. Right behind you. Awesome.
Okay, we got one question.
Hello, I'm Lillian from Monstercat. Hi, guys. One expression I like to use in our community is trying to grow the pond of Asia and dance music. In this room, we don't just have music people. We have brands, we have marketers, we have sports and Web3. If there's one thing that this group could do to help grow the pond for electronic music, what would that do, and what would that look like for support for you? For any of the panelists, you want to answer that?
Okay, thank you for the question. I think for us, like brand also, like we work closely with the brand, work together with the artists. We can push like some of collaboration between like the brand and the artist. Yeah, we did like a couples music production just for a couple brands, like jingle, soundtrack, something like that. We work together in Indonesia. Our artists made every year a soundtrack for like the cigarette company, because in Indonesia the biggest sponsorship is still cigarette and liquor, and we work closely with them just to make sure like the market hearing about, I know about the brand without doing like harsh promotion, because they're not allowed anymore to do branding as like a cigarette company. So we do like a collaboration in terms of music production, events locally in Indonesia with those kind of brand. That's how like we work together with them, just side by side for both side brand and the artist.
So creating like a not directly brand facing, but some sort of like a culture promoting thing that's funded by a culture promoting brand that's funded by the other brand.
Yes,
is that right?
Correct. Like they have like their own like event brands just to like promote and do like sponsorship for the events.
Cool. All right. I think that's about it. I'll cut it off. So thanks everybody for coming through. Again, 9 p.m. to midnight in Clark Key Fountain Square. Come one, come all. It's going to be a vibe, and we're looking forward to sharing it with you. Yeah? All right.